Spring 2024 got off to a hot start for me with the news that I had drawn a tag for the FWA near my house. This tag was good for the first 5 days, and with it being a highly pressured property, I knew I needed to take advantage. I immediately started scouting for turkeys, and while I struggled to find toms at first, I found plenty of other birds around. I think there's 2 owls sitting up there now. After some neat encounters with those owls and the eagle, I ended up stumbling across a group of hens. They weren't toms, but it was still a good sign to see turkeys in the area. As the weeks wore on, I kept after it. I kept going out in the mornings, and eventually I started to run into some toms. There he went. That was another bird. There's a couple now. Alright, so Evan and I are back out here on the draw property. I drew a tag, his dad drew a tag. I walked a good portion of this property, I didn't hear anything, but there's a couple birds gobbling right here that he found. So, I had a pretty good spot. There's one for sure, Tom. You can just hear other turkeys with them, so I don't know if it's a Tom and a Jake or what, but they are gobbling. Oh! So. Right out here. After spending some time scouting, it was time to hit the woods for the real thing with Will and TJ in Kentucky. If you've seen our video from 2 weeks ago, you kind of know how this one goes. I almost got it done on the second trip down, but it didn't quite work out. That had me feeling like I needed to pull something off at home. Alright, so it is April 26th. It's the night before our draw opened, so we drew tags for the weekend. This property's been open, obviously, for 3 days for other hunters that drew that period. We drew the 27th and 28th, so I've been here trying to roost a turkey. This is a spot that I've heard turkeys before, and it's probably the most effective roost spot, in my opinion. And also, it's April 26th, and I hope you wished Kyle a happy birthday today. If not, you're going to be in trouble. But if we can roost one in here, I might consider coming in here tomorrow morning. I still haven't decided. We found so many turkeys that I'm not sure which turkeys we want to hunt yet. Which spot we want to hunt. I've hunted this property a lot in the past anyway. So, it is incredibly windy today. It's supposed to be incredibly windy tomorrow. So, turkeys might just get blown out of the trees. So I don't really know. But I'm going to try to target trees that aren't blowing around in the wind. If I was a turkey, that's probably the one I would get in this kind of conditions. So there's some up here that don't really look like they're super affected by the wind, which is where I've roosted. I've had turkeys roosted before. So I would think they'd be roosted out of the wind, and then they'll want to get down. There's a private field behind me. There's a public field out here. So the thought, would be to get in between them this way and see what happens. So hopefully we roost one, and that's where we start things. And then we'll just hunt the bird we roosted and go from there. But I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll get one. Maybe we'll get two. We got 2 tags to fill, so hopefully we fill both of them. After these birds hit the ground, they kind of went silent on us. We lost contact with them. So we ended up moving up, making a second setup, and then we called in a lone silent tom that Evan and I had a miscommunication about who was going to call, and that bird ended up spooking and getting away from us. And that stuff happens. It wasn't a big deal, but it was a little frustrating at the time. I ended up hunting around, making contact with my buddy Heath, who was hunting on the other side, and he was nice enough to share some information about what the birds did Saturday morning and make a plan with me for Sunday morning. And he ended up backing out of that and letting me have the whole area to myself. I'm very, very grateful for that. He didn't have to do that, but it ended up working out for me.
Alright, so as you can hear, it's super, super windy. A bird just got one down. He's got one down here in the bottom. They're roosting the same spot they were yesterday. I'm just on the other side this time. So they're waking up now. They're pretty fired up. The hope is, these birds flew down into this field. The hope is they just kind of work their way naturally down towards me, and the decoys will draw them in just a touch closer. As I was gonna go down further, but as I started to get down there, I started to get like into trees, running out of bigger trees, and there were some hens right off the field yesterday, and I didn't want to walk underneath them and bump them. So hopefully we'll get one to come up this way. There's multiple dollars in it. I don't know if you can hear them over the wind or not. I can hear them, but they're down in the bottom, so hopefully they'll come up here and I'll walk to these decoys and I can kill one of them. That would be ideal.
After about an hour or so, those birds were just hung up right at the edge of the field. I ended up poking my head up and filming them for a little bit, but I knew they weren't going to come in. I could call to them and they would gobble back. They would gobble at crows. I mean, they were clearly fired up, but they'd already been up there and they just weren't coming up to check anything else out. After a live hen popped out on my left, I knew they weren't coming up there. They were just going to stay down there, and I needed to make a move. I needed to get aggressive. So I dropped over the hill. I started to work over to where those birds were just to see if I could crawl within range or crawl close enough to get them to come to a call, something. And as I did that, as I stopped calling, those birds broke and they went on the move. I was keeping up with them just by crows and stuff like that. They were shot gobbling. And eventually, after, I don't know, probably 5 minutes of following them around, they turned and they ended up right in front of me.
Alright, as you can see, things got a little crazy there. I think I got it on shot cam. I didn't really talk about the camera about what I was going to do, but basically when I was calling these turkeys, they just kind of kept getting, they were just hung up there. So I quit calling and I decided, you know what, they're going to stay hung up there, I'm going to at least move and get closer. So I started to move and get closer, and the birds just started gobbling, crows and stuff like that. They just kept getting further and further away. So at that point, I kind of knowing how this property sets up, I spent a lot of time here. I kind of dove down into the creek, and I was like, they're going to come up this field edge. So I'm going to try to beat them to the field edge, and then I think I can call them to me at that point. Well, it didn't quite happen that way. So I stopped in the creek because the birds gobbling. It sounded like they were down in this creek. I was like, okay, you know, that's cool. So I stopped, tried to call them to me. Didn't work. They gobbled again. I could tell they were further away, and it sounded like they were getting ready to come up this hill. So I, as quietly and quickly as I could, kind of booked it up this hill, across the creek, up the steep side of this hill, which is not, I mean, not that steep. It's a decent grade, but it's not terribly tall. And I got up here, and I could tell they were gobbling. They were in the field edge. I'm like, okay. So I poked my head up, and I could see them down here, kind of on my right. Well, on my left here, but on my right when I was down there to shoot them. So I ducked back down. They didn't see me. This one was actually, I kind of feel bad for him because he was the nervous one. The one in front was an idiot. This bird was nervous. I could tell by his head color. It had that darker red. So he was nervous. I was like, okay, I got to be careful with that one. If I let him catch me, he'll be out of here. So I had it planned out. I got up here. I got my hole. There was brush right here. I think it might be this brush right here in front of me. So I think I shot him right here. There's a bunch of feathers right here. I got this brush timed out. There was a little hole, and I was going to yelp and stop that front turkey and just shoot him. I don't know. They're probably 23, 24 yards. They're not terribly far. So I went to stop that turkey, and he stopped like on a dot. I kind of, you know, like you would a deer, where you kind of, they're right behind the tree, and you're you know, and then they take a step, and their shoulder comes out behind the tree, and you let the arrow fly or pull the trigger or whatever. Well, that bird stopped directly behind the tree. I was like, oh, crap. So then, they were both nervous. This kind of just turns in a full circle. This one walked forward into that hole, and right as the other turkey cleared, he went boom, let it off, and he started flopping, and I ran out here. And, you know, I didn't get it on the big camera. I wish I would have, that way you could see me get on top of the turkey and, you know, my reaction and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is, he's right here in the wind. Here's this tail fan. Probably a 2-year-old turkey, but 2-year-old's better than a no turkey. So I had those turkeys in here this morning. So that one, I felt like he was just out of range. So I let go, and you know, maybe that was a mistake, but it ended up not being a mistake. I got on these turkeys. You know, I just made the right move afterwards, and I was able to get on these turkeys. So I'm thankful I got to take this one. I'm thankful for the opportunity. I'm glad glad everything worked out. I've spent a lot of time trying to kill a spring turkey. I've killed a fall turkey, of all things, when I was deer hunting, but I never killed a spring turkey until today. This is my first spring turkey, so I couldn't be more pleased to get it done. I know it was kind of a spot and stock kind of deal, but when you're hunting pressure turkeys, sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get one down, and that's exactly what I did this morning. Like I said, couldn't be happier. I only had one day left. We're supposed to go to Florida on the 3rd, and that's, you know, next Friday. Today's Sunday, it's what, the 28th, so I only have one day left. I was probably going to be in there on those turkeys. I was going to get even tighter than I did this morning and shoot whatever the first one was that flew down, hopefully would be in range, because once you get all those heads in there, it gets really hard to worry about shooting 2 turkeys or a hen or something like that. So I'm glad we got it done this morning. I said I'm thankful for this turkey, thankful for the opportunity. I'm going to take him home and get him cleaned up, put it in the freezer, get his fan and stuff off of him. So thanks for watching. It's the first time I've ever got to fill one of those out and drop it off in the box. I'm sure, as you guys figure out, deduct from that'll be the end of my spring 2024 turkey season. We're actually getting ready to go to Florida. I only had one day left. So luckily, we got it done today. We don't have to worry about getting one Wednesday. I can kind of relax and pack, get ready to go to Florida. Other than that, it was a good year. I would have liked to have got one in Kentucky too. We got really, really close, but we were able to get it done this morning. I couldn't be more pleased. So thank you guys for watching.